I can't lie to you about your chances, but you do have my sympathies.
Alien Romulus.
Hey guys, Eli here, back to talk about one of my most anticipated films of this entire year. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting to see this, and I made sure to see it opening day, which is Thursday now, I guess. Except when it isn't. Whatever. I saw it, I have a lot of thoughts, and some general mixed feelings. So, Alien Romulus was directed by Fede Álvarez. Fede? God, I like Fede. I'm gonna go with Fede. Fede Álvarez and stars Cailee, Spaeny, and David Jonsson. And this takes the franchise back to simpler times, which makes sense since it is a sequel taking place in between the first two films, Alien from 1979 and Aliens from 1986. It sees a small group of low-level company workers making plans to scavenge a defunct space station, hoping to make enough money to, escape the company and, lead a better life. Most of the story centers around the two leads, Cailee Spaeny as Rain, and she's our new Ripley. And at her side is Andy, played by David Jonsson. He is an android that belonged to Rain's dad and was ordered to stay with her after he passed away. I mean, what would an alien film be without an android, right? And I actually really liked Andy. I've always had a fascination with the androids from all these films. Bishop especially, he was definitely my favorite, but I liked how Andy isn't really like any of them. Now I'm going to go off on kind of a rant. So I'm noticing that a lot of these like bigger YouTube film reviewers don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing on anyone. I'm a fan of a lot of those guys, but I'm noticing that. So a couple of weeks ago, there was a thing going through YouTube, the reviewing community, film community, whatever you want to call it. There was kind of a thing going around where a lot of people were starting to really complain about other people spoiling movies, before a lot of us have had a chance to see them. I don't know if these complaints were directed against like specific reviewers that were maybe spoiling things early, or if it was just people leaving comments spoiling things. I'm not sure, but a lot of people seemed kind of in an uproar about it, and I get it. I don't like spoilers either. I'm not defending anybody. But so I've watched a handful of these Alien Romulus reviews by these bigger YouTubers, and I'm really almost shocked at how minimalist they are. It's almost like because of this whole uproar, about the spoilers thing, are these bigger reviewers, are they now afraid to say anything about the movie at all? I mean, am I wrong? Tell me if I am, but I feel like, these reviews that I've watched, it's like you can tell that they're choosing every word very carefully, which is maybe something I could learn, a lesson from. But it's like they're so afraid of even saying anything at all about the movie that they're just afraid of the backlash. So what makes me go off on this little mini rant is because I'm noticing that nobody, out of all the reviews I've watched, nobody mentions Andy being an android. I don't see that as a spoiler because you learned it like in the first 3 to 5 minutes. That's not a spoiler to me. It's not even supposed to be a mystery that Andy's an android. So I don't know why nobody's addressing that, or I don't know why I don't know why people are afraid to say that Andy's an android, because I'm not. I get it. My channel's small compared to any of these, but still, I don't understand that. That's just not a spoiler. That said, I am going to avoid spoilers in this review. That isn't one of them. But while we're on the topic of spoilers, I thought this would be kind of funny to do, because I'm going to read to you the synopsis on the back of the original Alien VHS tape. If you want some spoilers, all you had to do was get your hands on a VHS tape back in the day. So check this out. I always thought this was crazy. All right. In deep outer space, the crew of a commercial spaceship make an unscheduled landing on a barren and desolate planet for engine repairs. They encounter a pulsating organism which attaches itself to one of the crew members and reproduces within his body to become the deadly alien. As each of the crew members is slain by the creature, one by one, the final confrontation between the last surviving crew member and the alien culminates in an explosive conclusion. So if you want spoilers, man, back in the late 70s, I guess they just spoiled everything upon release. Okay, and I'm going to mention the music real quick too, because I was pretty fascinated by it at times. It was composed by Benjamin Wallfish, and he did some really cool things here. Less minimalist than Alien, less bombastic than Aliens. It's dark and creepy at times, and loud and abrasive during others, but always fitting depending on the scene, at least in my opinion. But what I did find odd was that during certain parts, especially earlier on, I thought it was Mark Corbin who was responsible for the amazing Witch soundtrack. He also recently did the first Omen score, and I think he's just the best out there. Now, regarding everything else, I kind of have a lot to say about this film, both good and bad. Now, I'll start with the cast. Cailee Spaeny was really, really good, and she really impressed me here, I gotta say. I only really became familiar with her earlier this year when Civil War came out. Not even earlier this year, months ago. She impressed me then as well. She runs through different emotions pretty effortlessly, and her character has sort of a sweet and caring personality, but she's no pushover. Again, she's our Ripley here, and it wasn't just handed to her. She earns it. And then I'll talk about David Jonsson, who was the biggest surprise for me because I'd never seen him before. I found his character to be just so fascinating because he really isn't, again, like I said earlier, he doesn't really like any of the android characters from the previous films. I liked how he's basically a companion to Rain, and as to where previous androids were just there to do a job. So his personality is completely different, and he just wants Rain to be happy. His story arc here was a bit predictable, but it worked for me. I liked it okay. Now, the rest of the crew members range from bland to completely unlikable, and I had really hoped they would be written better. After spending about 2 minutes with them, I immediately thought to myself as I'm watching this in the theater, I can't wait to see you guys decimated by xenomorphs. I know that sounds terrible, but come on, we've all thought that. I have to admit this bummed me out and really early on in the movie. Now we have the aliens themselves. This is what you all came for. It's what I came for, that's for sure. I'm only going to talk about the obvious, rotating cast. Very similar to Aliens, it takes a bit for things to kind of take off, but once they do, it's pretty relentless. You see the face huggers first, of course, and instead of getting one or two, you get dozens of them. They're swimming, they're crawling on walls, they're doing face hugger things. I always liked them. The creature design, amazing. I mean, let's be honest. And they look fantastic here. As good as ever, or probably better, if we're being honest. Technology's advanced, and they're as creepy as always, and maybe even more aggressive this time around. And now for the xenomorphs, everyone's favorite. I mean, for me at least, the xenomorph is the best movie monster ever. No complaints here at all with the xenomorphs. Fede Álvarez, he knew exactly what to do here, and I can comfortably say that they look as good as ever, and maybe even better than ever. I find that hard to say, and I don't want to say it, but it might be true. He kept the look of them, from what I could see, 100% true to the way they looked. Not so much in Alien, the first one, because let's be honest, that was kind of a prototype. The Alien in the 1979 original, not the best looking. You got to admit, with the advancement with technology between 79 and 86, the xenomorphs looked way better, at least in my opinion. Am I wrong? I mean, they looked way better in Aliens. And I liked the approach to how you see them. You mostly see them in bursts, as they're running around, as they catch a glimpse of light, stuff like that, which does, let's be honest, that makes them way more terrifying. As much as I said I like the look of the alien or the xenomorph in Aliens compared to Alien, I think Alien is a much scarier movie because you don't see, there's only one of them, first of all, and you don't see him all the time. And especially considering, they like to hide and hunt things, this approach, to me, is the best. It's the way to do the xenomorph. And I think my favorite part of the entire film was the chest bursting scene. Again, not a spoiler, they show that shit in the trailer. Besides, I mean, that's how xenomorphs are born. And also, I wish people would stop calling baby xenomorphs chest bursters. They're just baby xenomorphs. But yeah, so when I saw the little guy, I just got the biggest smile on my face as I'm sitting there in the theater, completely dark, only a couple other people there. I'm just like grinning from ear to ear. I still prefer the chest bursting scene from Alien to this by far. I think that scene is much, much better. This one, it's just not the same. But I can't deny that this little baby xenomorph, not a chest burster, he's a baby xenomorph, looks 100 times better. So there's definitely a lot of Aliens-esque action here. It's inventive at times, and Fede Álvarez did not want to play it entirely safe. He wanted us to see some new things. So yeah, just tons of action. Some good suspense, but here's where my complaints kind of start to rear their ugly little heads. A lot of people are talking about how scary and how gory this movie is. Now, we all perceive things differently. If you thought it was super scary, if you thought it was super gory, that's how you felt. But I didn't find it very scary, and that kind of disappointed me. I think they could have ramped the terror up a little bit. I mean, there are, the horror elements in this movie are very strong, but I think it could have been more scary. I was also a little bit bummed about it not being as gory as I expected. Don't get me wrong, there's gore, there's blood and gore and stuff like that. I think there could have been a little more. I expected a little more. And now that I've used the word expect a bunch of times, let's address that. Going into anything with very specific expectations is usually a bad thing, as we all should know by now. But unfortunately, that's just how fucking brains work. I'm a huge fan of Fede Álvarez's Evil Dead film. It's easily one of my favorite modern horror films, and it's a reboot of one of the most beloved franchises ever. And there was definitely a part of me that wanted the Alien equivalent of that, and it really mostly isn't what we got. There's also a very CGI-looking character we get that was a callback to Alien, and while I liked the character and the story arc, the CGI and the callback factor really bugged me. And this wasn't the only callback, and some of them were kind of cringy, and I was kind of annoyed at times. I read an article that said Alien Romulus plays like an Alien franchise greatest hits, and that is actually pretty accurate. I'm happy to say that it does a few things that I did not expect. It bridges the Prometheus storyline a bit, which I thought was cool. It worked. And in spots, I got Alien Resurrection vibes. But don't worry, because I'm saying that as a good thing. I can't ruin it for you, but I think you'll know what I mean. It's a cool looking movie, and I much appreciated all of the practical effects. Those CGI xenomorphs in Covenant broke my heart. I'm giving Alien Romulus a 7.5 out of 10. Seems a little bit lower than what most people are going with. It's a cool movie, and I'm proud of Fede Álvarez, but I found it to be a bit overrated. That said, maybe we'll get another one. I think if Álvarez can work out some of the kinks, we could get a truly great Alien film from him. I just don't think this is quite it. Anyways, I appreciate you guys. Let me know what you thought about this one. I've only seen absolute praise so far, it seems, and my critiques make me look like kind of a dick. Cheers, guys.